Crystal and Saagar debate lab-grown meat.
The segment everybody's been waiting for. Lab-grown meat.
We really built this puppy up, didn't we?
Now, I think it is a fair point just to preempt any criticism. Like, why wouldn't you say this about factory meat? I agree with you. I think factory meat is poison. I was telling you, U.S. meat is actually banned in 160 countries because of a lot of the additives that we put in there. Many of the ways that we have in our meat supply, Tyson's Foods and all of this is repulsive and disgusting. And if you have the ability, I would genuinely urge you to not eat it.
And yet there's no ban of those.
And to try and either buy local meat, which is pasture raised, organic, grass-fed, etc., from people who actually both treat animals well, harvest them sustainably and responsibly. I understand it's more expensive. Not everybody can afford it. That's part of the curse, though, has been factory and vertically integrated meat production here in the United States. Now, the reason I'm against lab-grown meat and all of this is I believe very strongly in a principle called the Lindy principle. This was, by Nassim Taleb, and the idea is basically like the longer it's been around, the better it is. And there is just something deeply dystopian and terrible to me about the ideas of like the future technology companies like these tech guys, Jeff Bezos and others, not just owning land where food production actually happens, but synthesizing meat. And
this is a very logical art. I like how leading up into this, he was very reasonable. He was being very reasonable with like, oh, okay, so I think you should be like vertically integrated, local like pasture raised meat or whatever. And then then he transitions into I just think it's scary when a thing is new, I think that old things are good and new things are bad, leaving aside the fact that like the entire modern factory farming industry is like it's incredibly like contemporary, like this whole system didn't exist in the past.
And then possibly, who knows what you're even going to put into it? Just imagine.
How can you just say, you literally just said that American meat production is disgusting and we put a disgusting amount of like preservatives and other crap into it. And then you're like, okay, but that's not banned, but we should ban lab-grown meat. Something that would actually be far more pure on creation for obvious reasons. What do you mean? And that's no excuse for banning it. Why would you ban it just because of that? Doesn't make any sense. Like, you would just want to like regulate it the same way that we do other food production so the FDA knows what's going into it, which should be pretty easy because it's literally all being done in a lab. Is this a culture war? This is a culture war thing. This is like the fascist rejection of modernity.
Our current vegetables already are not even real vegetables. They're like genetically modified and they have all this crap.
Wait, they're still real. Wait, what? They're genetically... our vegetables have been selectively bred to be larger and better for human consumption, but that doesn't mean that they have weird crap in them or whatever. They're just better versions of previously existing fruits and vegetables.
I understand it's better for feeding 8 billion people at scale, so I'm not going to criticize it, I guess, in that way.
You are. Wait, I don't understand. What is this thing where you like bring up things that you have some irrational disgust towards, but then you're like, oh, but that doesn't matter. I don't understand.
Yeah, it's not like the rest of our food system is so pristine that it makes any sense to single out this one potential innovation. And then the other thing to say is this is a long way from coming to fruition.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Right, it's still very early in the development. So, I think we talked the other day, I think it was me and Emily, you were out, about Lunchables. Like, to me, things like that are probably a much bigger problem than lab-grown meat, which has all of the genetic indications of being just basically like meat. So to have
also, we can't get better with lab-grown meat unless we, fund it. Like if we ban lab-grown meat, we can't get better at doing lab-grown meat.
Hard ban on this, it's more culture war signaling than it is actual concern for anybody's health, because if you're concerned for anybody's health, you have a lot more critiques of our food system than you have.
Sure, but take where you can get, right? To me, lab-grown meat is the epitome of the Jurassic Park meme. Your scientists were so preoccupied whether or not they could.
Completely irrational, like fear of modernity. Again, like the fascist rejection of something new because it's icky. Vibes-based politics.
They didn't stop to think if they should. The idea, look,
why?
As we have seen with a lot of the regenerative farming movement and others that are out there, you can actually minimize a lot of the climate impact. You can actually raise animals sustainably. You can have much healthier meat, and you
can't actually. First of all, in order to do that, you would have to ban all factory farming, which is where the vast majority of our animal resources come from. So you can't without completely destroying the industry in the way that it exists currently, which you're not willing to do. It's so insincere. People like Saagar are like, well, you could get improvements in the system that exists now by doing X, Y, and Z, and then they just won't advocate for X, Y, and Z.
You can even buy directly.
Also, there are fundamental inefficiencies with growing meat through an animal that could just be rectified with lab-grown meat. What even is his argument? There isn't really an argument here. Like, his arguments don't even if you took all of the empirical points at face value, his argument doesn't follow from them. He's defending the banning of lab-grown meat. Nothing that he's saying has anything to do with that.
There isn't something intangible over hundreds of millions or tens of millions of years of evolution, of an animal being grown from birth to wherever it is, and then us eating that animal.
Incoherent waffling. Like, this is appeal to tradition in its most naked form, where there's not even like an argument attached to it. He's literally just going, look, man, like, it was like this, and there's something magical about that, you know?
Protein that can just be synthesized through a tube into something that we're going to eat, and is going to give us all the nutrients that we could ever possibly want. There's no, history of medical science that shows you that, like, Western medicine itself right now, if you were to ask me how to fix a bone, they know how to do that.
What? Is he suggesting that we don't know how to synthesize nutrients for human consumption? What do you think? You know that most of our citric acid we generate, like, artificially now, right? Like, citric acid is a thing that you can find in lemons and limes and oranges and stuff, but we can just make it in a lab way better, like more pure, way faster, way cheaper. It's a lot easier. Nature isn't magic. Nature is chemistry. The things that make your meat, your muscle grow, this is chemistry. The thing that makes citric acid build up in a lemon, that's chemistry. We can do chemistry in a lab.
But they don't know what makes us tick. That's why nobody has ever solved depression or...
What? Western medicine can heal a bone, but we don't make a nutrient block. We don't even know what what?
Why
I can tell, like, by Crystal's face that she also knows that we're in the, like, incoherent waffling subsection.
Can't just take vitamins instead of eating vegetables. If it was that easy, then it would already have been done.
Wait, you can. You can take vitamins that completely replace your need for some that you would get from fruits or vegetables. It depends on the vitamin. There's variety, but, like, yeah, we've been doing that for a long time. Vitamins aren't magic. It just has the thing in it that you would get from the other thing. Meat and vegetables aren't magical, like, reality-defying spiritual constructs that give you life nutrients. They're made up of chemicals your body breaks down. We can put those chemicals in a pill. If you want to take them that way, you can.
For me, it doesn't pass the Lindy test at all, and I think we should stay there.
The Lindy test is like vibe, you know.
I mean, your take is just basically like, I assume all technology is bad.
Not all, but a lot. I mean, look.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Crystal.
It's very dissonant with other technological, like, embrace of, the Apple Vision Pro and other things that
Apple
you're
Vision
very
enhancing human life.
And also it's very
oh my God, dude, he's such a fucking cuck boy. He's pro Apple Vision Pro, one of the most insanely dystopian, antisocial, alienating pieces of technology yet devised. Oh my fucking God. This is such an inauthentic opposition to, like, the Soylent Green, tech cult, anti-humanist futurism, where he's like, yeah, man, the Apple Vision Pro, that's fucking good. Lab-grown meat, thank you, DeSantis, for banning it. Insane. No real beliefs. He's such a fucking grifter. You know why he likes one but doesn't like the other? Because conservatives like Apple Vision Pro because that it helps them goon, but conservatives don't like lab-grown meat because they either align with the capital interests of the factory farmers or because it's a culture war thing. That's it. It's literally just like, what will my audience go with or not go with, Insane.
Basically, in a lab-grown system, what does it mean? It means you have to go to a company in order to buy your meat. You can never actually be fully sustainable or harvest something if you want.
Nobody is. That is a total delusional conservative fantasy that anyone, except for, like, a tiny fraction of a fraction of a fraction of the United States right now. Look at Crystal's face right now. Like, yeah, man, the homesteading fantasy of, like, raising a cow to slaughter it. It's the 21st century. And you know what? If the world ever reached a point where you could do that, you could just do that. We're not talking about banning the concept of slaughtering an animal for meat. We're talking about allowing lab-grown meat to develop. No, notice how Saagar is advocating in favor of banning lab-grown meat from the defensive position of assuming that it's going to be made illegal to harvest meat through slaughter of an animal. It's almost like he knows that it's a superior technology and a superior way of doing things, so he's operating from the defensive understanding that it would eventually replace all existing factory farming.
People can still have their own cow. They can still buy their meat.
I mean, what if they outlaw that?
Okay.
See? He knows. He knows he's operating from an irrational position. He's just clinging on to the status quo.
You're just like, let's ban it before we even know.
I understand what you're saying, and I'm not disagreeing that it is a culture-based argument.
Yeah.
I'm only telling you.
So this is him saying, like, yeah, I am acknowledging the fact that I have no rational argument for what I'm saying. This is a culture war talking point. Like, this is purely vibes-based.
Where
Fucking
it
idiot.
comes from, the skepticism. Again, for me, it doesn't pass the Lindy test literally at all.
I openly admit, I am irrational. I don't have an argument. I am full of shit. This is just a vibes thing. I am in favor of the government banning an industry purely based on my arbitrary vibes.